And good morning to you again on this Monday, hour number 2 of the program on the air. The full Bill O'Reilly update exclusively in Eastern Iowa coming up in about 30 minutes. But we begin this hour of the program by reconnecting with a return guest to the program. He's Joe Murphy of the Iowa Business Council. He's speaking to us from their headquarters in downtown Des Moines. Good morning. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thanks, Jeff. Pleasure to be with you.
So behind you, I see some cloudy skies. You may be getting some rain, but not until we're done with this conversation. I thought we had taken care of trade issues and tariffs and all of this. We got the NAFTA replacement in place now literally 6 weeks ago. The administration putting some tariffs back in place on Canada. Identify those for those who did not hear about it and tell me why you think that's either a good or a not so good idea.
Yeah, to continue that, I mean, it's really sort of a cloudy and stormy picture again as you look at our trade situation. And to your really good point, we did think we had this in a really good spot earlier this summer with the president signing the USMCA trade agreement, the goods of services and products moving beyond our borders into Canada and Mexico. And then, just last week, we learned that the president has decided to slap a 10% tariff on specifically aluminum in Canada. And that's really, really unfortunate. That we don't think is very good policy. And in the midst of a global pandemic, now is not the time to be slapping on tariffs, which, I get the understanding as far as, what they think that might do for trade relations, but, consumers, individuals, manufacturers, producers, those are the ones who end up paying that 10% cost. It's effectively a tax on business, a tax on individuals. And as we're trying to come out of this recession related to the pandemic, now is not the time to be raising costs on businesses or individuals, which we feel like this will do.
Is it tied to something else? Because I know we have talked with our ag experts about how the new USMCA was going to cause some problems for dairy in this country because of provisions that were in USMCA, loopholes, if you will. And so is this tied to something else to try to get to leverage some kind of response that helps in another area?
I mean, that could always be a possibility, but as you look at the information that's being put out there either by the administration or another individuals that we've been talking to, the situation seems to be completely tied to the aluminum issue. The administration thinks that there's been a surge in Canadian aluminum coming into this country, which will then cause prices in American manufacturers to decrease as a result of that influx of aluminum into the market. But, honestly, as we look at the reports and other things like that, that's really not what's happening. And so we're all sort of scratching our heads right now collectively as industry leaders, trying to determine, okay, what are we actually trying to solve here? And particular for Iowa, Canada is our number one trading partner. We have billions of dollars worth of goods being exported each year. And this certainly does not help Iowans who are already having, a difficult time getting back to work, manufacturing in a much more robust manner, and just trying to get back to the normal way of life.
We're speaking with Joe Murphy of the Iowa Business Council live on News Talk 1540 KXEL. I had seen something maybe a week ago talking about an aluminum shortage that could affect the beverage industry, aluminum cans for soda pop and beer and whatnot. How broad might this impact the consumers ultimately when we're talking about now with the tariffs that could either lead to less aluminum coming south over the border because people don't want to pay it, or does that change the dynamic with regard to some of these other industries?
I think you're absolutely right. It's not only the consumer industry, so whether it's beer, soda cans, or other things like that, but it's also manufacturers who are purchasing aluminum to create their products and get those products to market. So I think it will have a real impact. A 10% tariff is a 10% tax, and that's just something that's not going to be sustainable, particularly as we're trying to come out of this recession in a robust fashion. And then not even, a few hours later, the Canadians slapped retaliatory tariffs on us as well. And so, we just get into this cycle of trade policy that, again, just does not seem to be helpful, seems short-sighted. And when we're talking about when we're talking about a great traditional trade partner like Canada in particular, that's not a way to treat our friends and allies. And I think when you look at the Chinese situation, which is much different, maybe that's where the attention needs to be focused on, not on our North American allies.
Joe Murphy is executive director of the Iowa Business Council. He's on Twitter at Joe Murphy IBC. IowaBusinessCouncil.org is the website. So we're talking about this recovery. How have Iowa's businesses been recovering? When you and I spoke the last time, I think going into this third quarter, there was a mix of optimism. Some people were actually being able to recover pretty well. But as things sit on August 10th, how would you assess how your members and those you consult with are doing in recovering from the pandemic?
I really think we're making some good progress. We're obviously not anywhere close to where we were, March 1st of 2020, just about, 4 or 5 months ago. But I think we're taking some positive steps as more and more people are coming back to work, as more and more industries are able to scale up their operations in a very responsible and pragmatic way. The Iowa Business Council members, and this is speaking for all businesses probably in Iowa, our number one focus is the health and safety of our employees and our members and clients. And so keeping that first and foremost, we're able to bring people back in to the workplace, ramp up manufacturing, ramp up production. And so we do feel relatively optimistic heading into the middle of the third quarter, into the fourth quarter, that things will get, better. But I don't want to sugarcoat it. I think it's still, quite bad out there. I think the fact that we're seeing unemployment numbers go down is a good thing, or unemployment claims go down. I think the data just came out last week, which is a good thing, not only here in Iowa, but nationally. And then I think, if Congress can get its act together and come up with some sort of relief packages, a fourth phase relief package, that would help even more. I know that they're working hard on that in a bipartisan way, and I think that would add some extra momentum to our economy as we head into the fall.
Well, given that it is a pivotal election year, that's an optimistic thought that perhaps things can be done. Do you see some common ground as you look at what is needed? Specifically, you identified some of those things, but with regard to what is needed, do you see some of those issues as, again, based on your context, as being things that might actually get passed in time?
I do. I think we need to be thoughtful about what those things are. There's a lot of talk about additional investment for testing nationally, and I think obviously that's a critically important point. We can't really figure out where we go from a virus mitigation strategy if we don't know where the outbreaks are. So testing remains critical. There's obviously bipartisan support for that funding. I think there's bipartisan support for funding for some small and mid-sized businesses, extending the PPP loan programs and other provisions such as that. And I think there's going to be some effort around, unemployment benefits, whether that's, increasing an ability to incent people to go back to work that have been temporarily furloughed or temporarily laid off, or an extension of some benefits that have already been passed. But I think the most important point is we need to be incenting employers to be hiring people back that have had to unfortunately temporarily lay off, and we need to incent those workers to want to go back as well, to get back to the production floor, to the office, to continue to make economic progress in the midst of this pandemic.
Remind people who may not have heard our prior conversations, the Iowa Business Council is what and does what?
Yeah, thanks. So we represent 22 of some of Iowa's largest companies in the state, and we're really focused on increasing the economic vitality of the entire state and all of Iowans. And so we've come together as an association founded in 1985 in the throes of the farm crisis, which I think is an important founding mission to reflect back on in times like this. This is not about increasing the bottom line for a select few large Iowa companies. This is really about how we spur economic development throughout all four corners of our state. And obviously business is a big part of that, but we want to create jobs and opportunities for Iowans. We want to increase the viability of rural Iowa. We want to increase the access to capital that Iowans may have if they have an entrepreneurial idea, and also focus in on what we can do for affordable and workforce housing, tax structures, all the like. And so, we really try to put our best foot forward and come up with pragmatic policy solutions that will keep Iowa growing in a way that we'll be proud of a generation from now.